We're going on now to the sixth trumpet. And in the fifth trumpet, we saw that Satan fell from heaven. Revelation 9:1, and the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star from heaven which had fallen to earth, and the key to the bottomless pit was given to him. And we saw that smoke, that darkness comes out, and that Satan releases those locusts. And they have those stings like scorpions, and they'll torment men, not Christians, not the Christians that go into the tribulation, and not the Christians that get saved into the tribulation. But as it said in verse 4, but only the men who do not have the seal of God. So they are released. And as that is at the beginning of the tribulation. As the tribulation's starting, as the asteroid hits, Babylon falls, Satan falls to earth. He releases these locusts, these spirits of darkness upon the earth. And they're going to be men are already going to have anxiety and torment and be in misery that the destruction that's come from the asteroid. And that the United States has fallen from power, which is causing the nations of the earth to crumble as their economies, as the money supply, as the buying, selling, trading around the world is disrupted and ended. But we saw this locust that they were not permitted to kill anyone, only to torment those. And then we saw their appearance, because the fifth trumpet is describing Satan falling and him releasing those locusts, those spirits of darkness. It describes them in verse 7 and 8, and it tells you what they can and can't do. And we saw in verse 7 of Revelation chapter 9 that their appearance was like horses. Everything was like. This is a substitute of Satan falling to earth to bring about the kingdom of the beast and the Antichrist. In the seals, we saw that man was riding upon that white horse. That white horse was God's authority, and man was upon it. But here, everything's like. And the appearance of the locusts was like horses. And on their heads, as it were, crowns like gold. And they had faces were like the faces of men. Everything's like, because this is Satan coming. This is man going to now rule and reign under Satan's authority. And everything's like the kingdom of God, like the authority of God. And it's going to deceive many people. And we saw that will last for 5 months. And in Genesis chapter 7, we saw that it was 5 months that the water prevailed upon the earth. Just like the water flooded upon the earth in Noah's time, these locusts are going to flood upon the earth at the beginning of the tribulation. And they're going to be bringing misery and anxiety to people. But only those that are unsaved. And now we come, in verse 12, let's see this first, because in verse 12 we saw the first woe is past. Behold, 2 woes are still coming after these things. So the first woe is Satan falling to earth. And the woes have to do with Satan, because we see in Revelation 12:12, for this reason rejoice, O heavens, and you who dwell in them. Woe to the earth and the sea, because the devil has come down to you, having great wrath, knowing that he only has a short time. So the woes have to do with Satan. And this is now in the fifth and sixth trumpet. We see, in the fifth trumpet in particular, we see Satan falling to earth. And the fifth trumpet is describing those locusts that come out of that pit and what they can and can't do. That's the first woe. And now we go into the sixth trumpet. The sixth trumpet is the result of Satan falling to earth, and what these locusts are going to cause these men, what Satan and these locusts are going to cause these men that are rejecting Christ, rejecting the Christians. They're turning from him. The kingdom of the beast and the Antichrist are coming. And the sixth trumpet is describing those that are going the way of Satan, being influenced by this darkness, by these locusts, and the coming of the kingdom of the beast and the Antichrist. So now the sixth trumpet. And in Revelation 9:13, and the sixth angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar which is before God. So the sixth angel blows his trumpet, and John hears this voice from the golden altar which is before God. And it says, and the sixth angel sounded, and I heard a voice, one in verse 14, one saying to the sixth angel who had the trumpet. So this is what is going to be the result of the blowing of the sixth trumpet. One saying to the angel who had the sixth trumpet, release the four angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates. These four angels are always holding back the four winds. They're keeping back that total destruction. It's been that way since the church age. Because in the fourth seal, remember the seals cover the entire church age. And in the fourth seal, and I looked and behold an ashen horse, and he who sat on it had the name Death, and Hades were following with him, and authority was given over them over a fourth of the earth. So the seals covered the entire church age. And throughout the entire church age, these four angels have been holding back total destruction. Satan's always wanted to. Man's always wanting to go out and kill and start wars. But these four angels throughout the entire church age have held back that total destruction. They've held everything back to what it said in the fourth seal, which goes on throughout the entire church age. And authority was given over them over a fourth of the earth to kill with the sword and famine and pestilence and by the wild beast of the earth. Throughout the entire church age, that destruction, God's always had those four angels to hold it back to no more than a fourth of the earth at a time. But now we're coming upon the tribulation. Now what we see here in verse 14 again, one saying to the angel who had the trumpet, release the four angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates. So these angels that have been holding back that total chaos and destruction, they're going to be released. And what we're going to see in the sixth trumpet is that now it's not 1/4 of the earth that can have, under God's authority, wars and famine and pestilence. Now it's going to go worldwide. As a result of the asteroid hitting, Babylon falling, Satan falling to earth, and these demons, these locusts, these spirits of darkness being released, and now the four angels who hold back worldwide chaos, war, and destruction, release the four angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates. Verse 15, and the four angels who had been prepared for the hour and day and month and year were released. So they have been holding that back. You see that? They've been holding that back. They've been prepared. They've been holding that back throughout the entire church age. Until when? For the hour and day and month and year. They're holding that back until day one, hour one, when Babylon falls and the tribulation starts. They're holding it back until the tribulation starts, until the asteroid hits, until Babylon falls, until Satan comes and releases these spirits of darkness. Now they're released. They've been holding that back to 1/4 of the earth and no more at a time. But now they're released, and this will spread worldwide. This is going to be the result of Babylon falling, Satan coming to earth and bringing out these spirits of darkness. And these angels are released. Now, this is going to go worldwide. And I'm always saying that those on the broad road to destruction have at least 20-something, 30, 40 amazing, weird, chaotic disasters that spread across the earth. But as we've seen, only one thing's going to happen. An asteroid's going to hit. Babylon's going to fall. And that's going to cause the crumbling of the nations of the world's economies, which is going to bring chaos worldwide. And now, as a result of Satan and these spirits of darkness, these four angels are released. In verse 15 again, and the four angels who had been prepared for that hour, day, month, and year were released. The beginning of the tribulation, so that they might kill a third of mankind. And it's not that these angels are going to go out and kill. You see, they've been holding it back. Once they release it, They are causing it. They're letting it. Man wants to do that. Man's always ready to, willing to kill and destroy and follow Satan and darkness, but they've been holding it back. So they release that so that they might. The result of that is going to cause a third of mankind to be killed. Right now, worldwide, the population is about 8.1 billion people. If a third of them are going to die, this is throughout the tribulation, starting with the asteroid hitting, the downfall of Babylon. Lots of people are going to die there. And we're going to see is what the worldwide, the main thing that's going to be killing a third of mankind. There's 8.1 billion people in the world right now. That means 2.7 billion people will die from the beginning of the tribulation, day 1, hour 1, the fall of Babylon, to the end of the tribulation, when Christ returns, including those when he returns with us on those white horses and slays the armies of the kingdom of the beast and the Antichrist. 1/3 of the earth's population will die. Because this now, what we're going to see, is going to spread worldwide. In the seals throughout the church age, it was kept to 1/4 of the earth. Now these angels are released. This is going to spread worldwide. And in verse 16, look at what we see here, saints. And the number of the armies, of the horsemen was 200 million. I heard the number of them. So John just blurts this out here. Where does this come from? And the number, there's a number of 200 million man armies. John says, and the number of the armies of the horsemen was 200 million. I heard the number of it. Right now, in the world's top 10 countries, United States, Russia, China, India, England, and 5 others, total, they have a combined military of 15 million. The top 10 military countries in the world have a combined military of 15 million. John sees here that the number of the armies of the horsemen is going to be 200 million. Vast amount of people going to war, prepared for war. But who are these? The armies and of the horsemen. The horsemen is what we saw right there in the locusts. Remember, they were described. The locusts were being described in the 5th trumpet. And the appearance of the locusts was like horses. Remember, because everything's a substitute. So that's why John's mentioning the horsemen, because that's the locust. The locust, the evil spirit Satan is bringing about, influencing these armies. God throughout the church ages set up all kingdoms, rulers, all the governments in the world. But now Satan's coming to set up the kingdom of the beast and the Antichrist. And you have these 200 million man armies of these horsemen, inspired by, used by these locusts from the pit. And the appearance of the locust was like horses, a substitute for what God, when man was sitting on that white horse. Man was ruling and reigning by God's authority. But now, and he was, as it said, and he who sat on it had a bow, and a crown was given him. He went out conquering to conquer. So throughout the church age, up to the tribulation, man is sitting on that white horse. That white horse is God's authority. And then you see in the second seal, and when he broke the second seal, I heard the second living creature say, come. And another, a red horse, went out. And to him who sat on it was granted to take peace from the earth, and that men should slay one another, and a great sword was given to him. So this is throughout, that's the second seal. In the first seal, man's ruling and reigning by God's authority. In the second seal, man's going out and he's bringing about this death, taking peace from the earth, men slaying one another. But as you saw in the fourth seal, that was restricted by those 4 angels to 1/4 of the earth at a time. Now those angels are released. Now you have Satan coming. Man is going to be ruling through the kingdom of the beast under the authority of Satan. And everything's like the kingdom of God, but it's going to be fake. And it's going to fool many Christians. There's going to be the great apostasy, because people are going to be saying, look, this is good. They're bringing peace back to earth. And they're bringing commerce back. And it's going to be like the kingdom of God, like man ruling with God's authority, like the kingdom when Christ is coming, but it's Satan inspired, and it's coming through the power and the influence of these locusts. And so the number of the armies of the horsemen, who are the armies? That's as the asteroid falls, as these locusts, armies of the horsemen, these locusts are stinging these people, tormenting these people, giving them great anxiety. As the United States falls from power, as the world commerce crumbles, as stock markets crumble, as food becomes scarce, and everything is bringing people to war. It's bringing them all to war. Each country, each nation, each tribe, each people is going to want to protect their own people, their own area, their own country, their own food supply. And that's going to be these 200 million man armies. Yeah, Christians are not going to be in these cosmic, weird, demonic disasters that those on the broad road to destruction tell you come one after another, 20, 30, 40 of them. But this is, and in the fifth trumpet, those locusts that are stinging these men and tormenting them are not allowed to harm the Christians. But this is something that Christians in the tribulation will go through. They'll have these 200 million man armies wherever they're at in the world. They're going to be preaching the gospel. People are going to be getting saved, as you see in Revelation 7:9, going on from there, where this unnumberable people, people that John couldn't number from every tongue, tribe, nation, and people, they get saved in the tribulation. John saw them, and these people are going to come and get saved through the work of the saints. But at the same time, those that are turning away, those that are being influenced by Satan and these demons, they're going to go to the dark side. They're going to go to the side of Satan. They're going to make these armies. They're going to be fighting. 1/3, 2.7 billion people are going to die. The Christians are going to be caught up in that. And silly American Christians that just love Babylon and think it's the world and the kingdom of God, and God is blessing them and everything there. They think nothing can happen to them, and they think they're all going to get raptured before the tribulation. We've seen over and over and over that can't be true. And look at this in Revelation 2:10, speaking, when the Lord is speaking to Christians. This was a message to Smyrna. He's speaking to Christians. He's speaking to the church. Listen to what he said to the church. Revelation 2:10. And do not fear. This goes perfectly with the asteroid hitting, the tribulation starting, Satan coming out and influencing these people into these 200 million man armies that worldwide are going to be going to war. Sure, from the results of the asteroid will be part of that third of the earth, part of that 2.7 billion dying, but also Satan's going to be inspiring these people to war as they try to protect their own peoples. And the Christians will be caught up in that, the ones that go into the tribulation, the ones that loved the world and they weren't ready and they weren't prepared. In Revelation 2:10, what's the Lord's message concerning things like this? Revelation 2:10, do not fear what you are about to suffer. This would be the Lord's message to those that are going to go into these things or get saved during these things. Don't fight and kill with those people. They're going to be seeking God, preaching the gospel. And in verse 10 he says, and do not fear what you are about to suffer. Behold, the devil is about to cast some of you into prison, that you may be tested, and you will have tribulation. Christians try to say, oh, no Christian can go into tribulation. It's silly. Christians have been going through tribulation throughout the church age, especially the early church. And he said, and you will have tribulation 10 days. Be faithful until death. Be faithful to death. and I will give you the crown of life. That would be the message to the Christians that are getting caught up into these wars. Don't go out fighting. If you take up the sword, you'll die by the sword. And those destined to captivity will go to captivity. But the Christians will be preaching the gospel. But the world will have these 200 million man armies. And they will be bringing about these massive wars. And that is where you have all this people that die, this 2.7 billion people that die as a result of these wars. So these things are going to come upon the earth, and the Christians are going to be preaching the gospel. But these people will be going to war, and that's why it says in the 5th trumpet that these scorpions go out for 5 months. Because during 5 months they'll cause this, but God will release those 4 angels. And that 5 months you'll have that flood of this evil influence upon men. But that's going to lead to the coming of the kingdom of the beast and the Antichrist. Because they're going to come up and seem like the kingdom of God, seem like the good people, seem like the peace people. These nations are going to get together and stop these wars, stop this fighting, bring money and commerce back to the world. That's why you see later when the 2 witnesses are killed, that in Revelation 11:10, and those who dwell on the earth, regarding the death of the 2 witnesses, and those who dwell on the earth will rejoice over them and make merry, and they will send gifts to one another. Because by the middle of the tribulation, the kingdom of the beast and the Antichrist will rise up, and they'll be bringing this fake like peace to the earth, and people will be running to it, following it. A lot of Christians, that's why you'll have the great apostasy, a lot of Christians will turn to that and say, no, this is good. But the Christians should preach the gospel and be ready until death if they have to. But that's the one thing they will be caught up in the first 3.5 years of the tribulation, is these 200 million man armies and these battles that go on. But Satan will be influencing those people for 5 months, and then, just like it said in Genesis, it'll start to recede. The water will start to recede. The flood will start to recede as these people, as these armies are brought under control by the kingdom of the beast and the Antichrist. So we need to see these things. We need to be ready. We need to be repenting and preparing the way of the Lord.